Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. Here are our top stories. The launch of the virtual credit card, and fintech is white hot, but should you rush in as an entrepreneur? Joining me now to discuss this and more, Dan Klein is Senior Technology and Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Dan, welcome to the program. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey there, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back. Hope you enjoyed the week off and got some rest and relaxation. Let's jump right in because I saw a recent press release about a virtual credit card, and it just piqued my interest. What can you tell us about this?
Well, it's I don't want to say it's much ado about nothing, but a lot of credit cards are virtual. So, Jeff, I have the Apple credit card, and they do physically send you a card, and wow, what a card it is. It's heavy. It doesn't fit in most card readers. Like, you know, it's made of, I don't know, platinum and magic. But the way you use the card is largely, in fact, in my case, 100% through my phone. So it's in my Apple wallet, and I can use it to pay for things. If I'm ordering, say, Grubhub, I can use it to pay for Grubhub. I can pay the bill on my phone. That's kind of the way of credit cards now. All the virtual credit card is a credit card that they never send you a physical card. And I'm not particularly sure what the advantage of that is, because we already have a system where if you apply for a regular card, they're generally getting you your number and your ability to use it before you get the physical card.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that seems to, we've on in your segment in particular, we've talked a lot about Venmo and some of the different banking services that allow the digital transfer of money. And a lot of younger people now are, they're paying for their bills or sharing their food bills, transferring money through Venmo. So it seems like this virtual card sounds a lot like that. Also sounds a lot like Apple Pay, some of the other pay services. I'm not clear on the differentiation here.
Well, the differentiation is it is a credit card, whereas Venmo is tied to some method of bank account or checking account or payment. So, I'll use the Apple Card, which again isn't technically a virtual card, but it's meant to be used as a virtual card. And the deal with the Apple Card is just everything takes place in your phone. And you could probably, in fact, you could tie it to your Venmo, you could tie it to your PayPal as a way to make payments. And this is really just the sort of notion, the idea that how we pay for things is changing. And yeah, I've talked about this with you before. If I go out with my colleagues who are largely, mid-20s to early 30s, every single person doesn't have any cash and they're Venmoing money back and forth and they're sort of going about their business that way. This just says, hey, you're not using the physical card anyway. Look, we'll just not send you one.
Thanks, Dan. And I totally get that. I mean, is this more, you said kind of much ado about nothing. Is this kind of COVID related? I mean, when you go into a store and you buy, grocery store, a lot of now people, they don't want to use their card. So they might, they might not take it out, or they might use their phone. I mean, is this really kind of around that? Is that really kind of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, it's an extension of, look, COVID-19 and coronavirus has sort of hastened some adoption of some of these things. Look, I've always used Apple Pay, almost since it existed. When, Whole Foods, which takes it and it works well, there is no reason to pull out a card. It is faster to pay with Apple Pay. There's a vending machine in my building that you can use Apple Pay to buy a bottle of water. And you know what? When I go to the gym, I often forget my bottle of water, but I have my phone with me. So it's a convenient method of doing it. We're getting faster towards this type of payment, but we're also, there's less reason to have a physical credit card.
Well, I think it makes sense. And I'm gonna go to the other side, Dan. And we had on last week Parham Eftekhari from the Cybersecurity Collaborative. So there's obviously a lot of concern right now has been a lot of concern, and will continue to be concerned about privacy, about financial infrastructure. But do you see some chinks in the armor, for lack of a better term, around, with our financial infrastructure and maintaining that privacy with some of these tools, because it seems like the pay systems are going very quick, and we've got to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to support that, or else money's going to find its way into the wrong places, the wrong pockets.
I think you're safer with something that's based on your phone, which has a pretty high level of security. I mean, we've seen situations. In fact, there have been whole Law and Order episodes about this, where the secret to the murder is on the iPhone, and even the police can't break the encryption. That feels a lot safer to me than a piece of plastic that has a pretty stealable code that could, we've all heard the stories of things being put in gas pumps and other ways to steal your information. So I actually feel pretty good about this. To me, this is a safer iteration, but it's really just about convenience. I think even these virtual credit cards, if there's pushback from the users, from the customers, and they say, hey, there are just occasions where I need a plastic credit card, they'll probably eventually send you one. But I think we're moving towards a world where your credit card is an accessory, and some people like Apple are going to make it a cool accessory. Like, that card's in my wallet because it looks nice. There's some other cards. My Amazon card, which I use solely for Amazon purchases. It is tied directly to my Amazon account. They also sent a really nice card. I have no idea where that card is. That's probably bad from a security point of view too, but I'm sure it's just in my house somewhere. I only use that to make purchases on there. I think you're going to see a lot more businesses. You remember the old day of the store credit card? You'd have your Sears card and you use it just to buy things at Sears.
Yep.
I think a lot of those are going to go virtual, that there's no reason for a physical credit card because you're in their system, your face is right there, and they're sort of going to be able to do that without having the need for that physical transaction. And yeah, we won't have to touch the yucky card reader. That's great as well.
Yeah, I remember, Dan, I almost remember you put the slip in and then you copy it, and probably people who are watching this probably don't remember that, but that was how you'd have a receipt and you'd actually get a carbon copy of what you submitted and your plate would be charged. It's amazing how things have changed even in the last few years. Well, Dan, I want to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Dan about the life of an entrepreneur. It's not always all it's cracked up to be. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
If you were like 58% of Americans, you didn't go to college. Or you did, but never finished. Maybe it's the thought of a big, intimidating campus. At Independence University, all classes are held online. Maybe it's the thought of being alone in a sea of students. At Independence U, you'll get a personal support team to help you every step of the way. Maybe it's the cost of all those books and supplies. Online means no books to buy. We even give you a new laptop and tablet to keep when you graduate. Maybe your life doesn't fit typical college classes. At Independence U, our online college fits your schedule. Let's meet a few students.
Independence University held my hand through the process.
Don't be afraid to take the leap because it has changed my life drastically.
Just take the first step and you can do it. If I did it, you can do it too.
At IU, there's no barriers to your degree.
800-535-9916.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dan Klein of The Motley Fool. Dan, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeff.
It's always great talking with you. Really interesting. We talked about streaming on the podcast on Sunday. We just talked about payments. And there's so many great entrepreneurs out there, young, mature, who are creating great businesses. But Dan, it's a tough life to be an entrepreneur, isn't it?
It's incredibly difficult. And here's the problem. A lot of people have a good idea but don't have business acumen. So the one thing you have to keep laser focused on, and I've been an entrepreneur. I've worked at startups. I've been part of successful businesses. But I also worked at a company that itself was entrepreneurial, that was building websites largely for startups. And the vast majority of people who came in and gave us a bunch of money to build their website had a good idea, but they didn't have a focus on sales. And I would ask them what their day was. And they were like, well, we came in, we spent the entire day debating our logo. Should it be green? Should it have rounded edges? And I would say, what about sales? Oh, well, we'll get to sales. And Tuesday we had tacos, and Wednesday we played ping pong. And that's all well and good. But sales is the only thing that matters. So if you're going to start a business, you have to recognize that it's not about how cool your idea is. If you build it, they will not come. You have to figure out how to get an audience, how to make money off of that audience. And that's possible, but it's difficult.
Yeah, really important. That monetization, and as someone who, like myself, who's running trying to build a small business, I mean, that is something that I think about all the time. How do I convert what we do here on the network or in my consulting practice, and how do I convert that to dollars coming in? For many entrepreneurs, and I think to be a founder, yes, you're kind of split into two different roles. The first is, as the founder, you have to believe in what you're doing. You're often idealistic, right? You come up with this idea, and excluding the people who are playing ping pong, you 100% believe in what you're doing, and 100% of your energy is going in. And then there's the other piece of that, which is the business part that you brought up, which is how do you take what you've done, monetize it, and explain to people what you do and what you can do, how what you're doing is better than what they're doing today in the niche that you've selected. I think that can kind of create this schizophrenia, if you will, for lack of a better term. You're almost like you're two different. You have to be two different people because you need the founder. You need the founder or founders. You need that person. You need that commitment to doing this. At the same time, the realism of being a business owner.
Yeah. So Jeff, this is a lesson you've learned. You have to be laser focused on building a really good product, because if you don't have a really good product, it's really difficult to get the other piece of it. But while you're being laser focused there, you also have to figure out, how do I get money for this product? And one of the ways to do this is to have a clear plan. Now, every business owner, especially if you're raising money, has a 5-year business plan, and year 3, 4, and 5 are absurd. By year 5, you're making $200 billion a year. You're bigger than Tesla. But year 1 and 2 should be a really clear roadmap. Month 1, we're going to spend $10,000. We're going to bring in no money. Month 3, we're going to spend $12,000, but we're going to have $4,000 in revenue. Here's where it's coming from. And you've got to keep your eye on, are you hitting those goals? And if you're not hitting those goals, well, if you only bring in $3,000 and you thought you were going to bring in $4,000, maybe you can only spend $11,000 instead of $12,000. You have to really do the math. You have to keep your eye on it. You have to work really, really hard. The first year is a sprint, and we joke about ping pong. When I had that startup business environment, we had this loft office, and that makes it sound cool. It wasn't cool. It was up super steep steps that were really dangerous. It was really hot in there. We had the pitched roof. But yeah, we had an Xbox room, and we had a swing, and we played bowling, we had plastic pins and a ball, and we had our fun. But we had our fun after our 12-hour day, or in the middle of our 12-hour day, because we were focused on, okay, we don't want to be building websites for other people. We had a business goal. We want to create enough money to buy the things we want to buy so we don't have to keep doing this. And what we did was we bought websites and we monetized those. So we were very focused on every day whether we were getting where we wanted to go, and it was really difficult. Part of the reason I'm no longer part of that business, which is a very successful company, though it's an ad-driven company now more than anything else, is because at some point I went, okay, money's great, but I don't want to work this schedule. I can't keep up with what's going on here. So a lot of things have to come together, and I'll say, look, there's no shame in failing as an entrepreneur. And as someone who's been a serial entrepreneur who's also held real jobs, you really have to figure out right now, is this the right thing in my life? It's great to have an idea. It's another thing, you are sacrificing a lot if you're, and you know this as well as anyone, Jeff, you don't have young kids right now. So you're in a good situation where, you can focus on your job and still be a good husband because you don't have all those other things. I have a teenager. It is difficult to say, okay, I'm going to be at work from 7 to 7 and come home and be exhausted. You all have to make those decisions. The entrepreneur's life is, it's glamorized when you watch like Shark Tank. It's not that great.
Yeah. I mean, Dan, what percentage of entrepreneurs succeed? I mean, we all hear about the Mark Zuckerbergs. You talked about Shark Tank. That's probably less than 1% of people. I mean, to get the $200 million deal, to get investors. I mean, that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a good track record. They don't just the first time entrepreneur generally does not get, no matter how great the idea, does not get access to capital like that right away.
So I think you need to figure out what your success metric is, and this was a real problem with some of the companies we worked with. They had all of these ideas about how they were going to get to 100 million. And we would look at their business and say, hey, this is a really sustainable $2.5 million a year revenue, pay yourself nicely, have a nice little business. I'm not so sure it's an $80 million a year business like you think it is. And most people only focus on that unimaginable step. It's incredibly difficult to go from idea to say IPO where somebody buys you for $100 million. It's not crazy for Jeff and I to say, what we want to do? We want to open up the best New England style steak and cheese shop in West Palm Beach, because that doesn't exist, and that's a niche. And we're going to work really hard. We're going to go out and deliver sandwiches for free so people can try it to spread word of mouth. And that business is eventually going to gross $1.2 million a year. 400 grand of that is profit. We're each going to make 200 grand a year. That's delightful. That's attainable. That's realistic. Right. Now, if we get to that, we might say, hey, this is really popular here. A lot of our clientele work here, but they live in this town. Let's open up one town over. And then we have a second store. And that second store proves, wow, this isn't just this region. This isn't, this is going to draw. And then we go a third store. And then somebody approaches us and say, I really think this would work in North Carolina. Can I franchise one from you? That's how your best ideas generally grow into something that's a giant success. It's not you and I sitting down at a table and our first goal is we're going to start the world's largest steak and cheese chain. Like that's not a realistic way to build your business. So start with, what do I need out of life? Well, I need to make a living. How do I get this business to the point I make a living? Many more people attain that than attain the riding around in jets and IPOing and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's really glamorized on TV and movies. It's difficult. I think people need to be prepared for that. And success doesn't come right away. Dan, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program. And we'll look forward to having you back. Another great discussion when we talk to you again soon.
Thanks for putting up with my cat moving around my screen for a little bit of the interview. Appreciate it.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, tech, personal finance, and more, check out our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.